Welcome to Cyber Dialogues, brought to you by Palo Alto Networks. This series is your go-to resource for understanding the latest trends in cybersecurity and gaining actionable insights that you can use to help secure your organization with confidence. I'm your host, Brad Howarth. Recent research from Palo Alto Networks Unit 42 division has found that almost half of all cybersecurity incidents exploit browser-based vulnerabilities. So in this episode, I'll be speaking to Raj Sharma, Cyber Strategist at Palo Alto Networks, about some of the tools and methods that you can use to stop criminals in their tracks. Raj, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here, Brad.
So tell me, why is it that browsers are so important?
Well, the reality is we live in the browser. Right now, we're on the browser, and everything I do every day is on the browser, and I'm sure that's very familiar to yourself. Research also shows that more than 90% of our day is spent on the browser. The reality is the bad guys have figured that out and using that as a very strategic and new attack vector to get into enterprises.
Right, so browsers are critical to business. We're using them all the time. We're using pretty much 100% of the time at some organizations, but you're telling me they're vulnerable. Why is that? Why are they proving to be so vulnerable?
But just like traditional technologies, they didn't really have much of security in mind. Traditional browsers were not built to fight against new attack vectors that we're seeing. They were meant to simply connect users to the internet for searching, as an example, or now web-based emails. So the reality is, as we start to move to digital transformation trends and adoption of software as a service applications, more and more usage is dependent on connecting to the internet and through the browser. Hence why we're starting to see very sophisticated and new attacks using vulnerabilities in traditional browsers.
So what are some of the ways that criminals are exploiting browsers then? What are the kind of attacks that we're getting worried about here?
Most typically things like phishing attacks. Sometimes it's the risk of what organizations don't see because the use of traditional browsers allows users to sometimes do inappropriate things or accidentally make mistakes by leaking information or downloading inappropriate content that could be malicious to the environment.
So how can organizations go about securing their browser experience?
Well, one of the ways Palo Alto Networks would recommend to safely enable the use of software as a service applications or user experience to the internet is through the use of Prisma browser. What this means is that we now have the ability to provide a new browser experience for organizations, something that they're very familiar with by downloading an application similar to, Chrome browser as an example, based on very similar framework and user experience, but with the benefit of improving the security posture by giving them the benefit of threat prevention, advanced URL filtering, and DLP capabilities powered by Palo Alto Networks.
So how does Prisma Access browser work?
As I mentioned, it's actually a very simple process. It's just a simple application that users can download both on their managed and unmanaged devices. It doesn't require any admin requirements for users. They download the application and they open up the browser, very familiar to what they're already used to, when it's already pre-configured by corporate administrators, enforcing zero trust framework methodologies, making sure that users have role-based access, while at the same time they can browse bravely.
So what is it that makes it more secure than your standard Chrome experience?
Because traditional browsers didn't have security in mind or fundamentally built from the ground up, the Prisma Access browser gives the user a better experience with more security, better controls, and more importantly, visibility to the corporation with not only the advanced features of Palo Alto Networks, threat prevention, wildfire, and as well as DLP, but also the ability to have recorded sessions and audit trails to if there ever was an incident, to make sure that it was either a human error or if it was malicious behavior based on the intent of the user through the use of our audit capabilities.
Yeah. So what are some of the attacks that it's going to stop then?
It's focused on not only keeping the user experience positive, but it's focused on reducing attacks like malware, phishing attacks, and also data loss prevention. Sometimes that can be targeted, and sometimes it could be just bad user behavior, where we can also help to educate the user based on company policy.
Now, we've all probably clicked on a link at some point in our life that we shouldn't. We've maybe done something that if we'd stopped and thought we wouldn't have done. Does this help me out there?
Yeah, absolutely. We have the ability to set policies on what is safely enabling the user to access certain websites or certain categories of websites, making sure that users don't inadvertently or accidentally download unsafe files or maybe download files that are sensitive. We give the ability to also control the use of certain content that is downloaded. By example, making sure that a user that has access to an application that they see sensitive information, that content can only be viewed within Prisma Access browser or third parties that have access to that content within Prisma Access browser.
Is this going to interfere with my user experience then?
Absolutely not. It's based on improving user experience. It's based on giving the user more confidence in opening up their laptop, getting on with work, and being protected with Palo Alto Networks' advanced threat prevention capabilities, and also safely enabling the use of software as a service applications and their access to the internet.
Now, is this the kind of thing then that I should only use at work, or if I want to start doing my online shopping, should I start using Prisma Access Browser to do that as well?
That's a great question. A lot of our, recent success where we're seeing a lot of interest with Prisma Access Browser is actually on not only corporate users for their internal devices, but primarily focused on non-managed devices, third-party contractors, M&A conversations, where we want to make sure that customers feel confident that the information that their employees or their contractors are accessing is not only secure, but limited to the use through Prisma Access Browser. So there's actually more and more use cases that we're identifying. For example, recently we were talking to an organization about a marketing department that uses a third-party contractor, and they're very concerned about the sensitive information that the third-party contractor gets to see of their customer contact details. So they want to make sure that it's safely visible only through the use of Prisma Access Browser within that use case.
So are there other steps then beyond Prisma Access Browser that I can take in order to help secure that browsing experience?
There's a few steps that we can work with customers on and we would recommend, but primarily anything in cybersecurity is based on visibility. So I think the great thing about a browser is by the time the user accesses a website, things are pretty visible. And having a browser that is built from the ground up with security in mind is just going to give not only better visibility to the organization, but it's also going to improve the user experience through the use of safely enabling access while further improving their zero trust methodology with role-based access, and also setting the right policies. And importantly, also having audit trails where an incident may occur to not only reduce the attack surface, but also go back and educate the user on how to behave appropriately.
Most important question then is, what kind of feedback are you getting from customers, and are they telling you that it works and actually helps to prevent or stop these kind of attacks?
The feedback being super positive has actually been one of the most exciting things to talk about because it's a new wave of not only attack vectors, but such an easy implementation of time to value for our customers. It requires not much uplift from the customer, but they see value in day one. I mean, a great example that I talk about is really at Palo Alto Networks. We switched the use of traditional browsers such as Safari and Internet Explorer and set a policy that all Palo Alto Networks related applications can only be accessed through Prisma Access Browser. We made that switch overnight, and 15,000 employees could get on with their work pretty much immediately. That happened with a number of customers that we're talking to, piloting and also implementing Prisma Access Browser in all different type of verticals and all different type of use cases, not only for their internal use, but also their third parties, which means that they're actually reducing costs at things like VDI and using traditional approaches like VPNs. So it's super exciting because it's really helping our customers every day.
Awesome. Look, Raj, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Brad.
And thanks everyone for tuning in. Join us again on Cyber Dialogues, brought to you by Palo Alto Networks, as we continue to explore the ever-changing landscape of cyber risk across the Asia Pacific and Japan region.